account looked ordinary until I saw the bold line through the paper window. Paid in full. For a second, my brain refused to translate it. I stood in my entryway with the mail balanced on my forearm, my keys still in my hand, staring at those 3 words like they belonged to someone else's life. My mortgage. Gone. Without me paying a dime. I flipped the letter over like the back might explain it. It didn't. It was on official lender letterhead with my loan number, my property address, and a clean, cheerful paragraph thanking me for my final payment and confirming a lien release had been executed. Executed. That word landed wrong. Because yesterday, my mother sat at my kitchen table with her hands clasped like she was praying and said, "Jade, please. I just put the house in the family's name." I'd been rinsing a coffee mug when she said it. I remember the sound of water hitting ceramic, the way she avoided looking directly at the framed photo on my counter, the one of me holding the key on closing day, smiling like I'd finally done something no one could take from me. "It's for protection," she'd insisted. "What if something happens to you? The house should stay with family." I'd kept my voice calm, I always did with her. "My house is already protected," I said. "It's in my name, it's insured, it's mine." Her mouth had tightened like I'd insulted her. "After everything I've done for you," she whispered, "you won't even do this one simple thing?" That's how she always framed it, like boundaries were betrayals. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue about the past, I just said, "No, Mom." She left without a scene, but the look she gave me at the door was a promise. Not a threat. A promise that she would find another way to get what she wanted. Now I stood there with paid in full in my hand, and I realized she had. My first impulse was to drive straight to her house. I didn't. Confrontation gives people like my mother room to improvise. Paper doesn't. So I sat down at my dining table and read every line twice. The letter stated the loan had been satisfied, and that a release of lien had been processed. It included a contact number for the lender's payoff department, and a reference to a recorded document that would be mailed separately. Recorded document. That meant county records, that meant title. That meant my name could already be moving through a system I hadn't touched. And I picked up my phone and called my mother anyway, because I needed her reaction logged in real time. She answered on the second ring, breathy, like she'd been waiting. "Hi, sweetheart." "I just opened my mail," I said, keeping my tone flat. "It says my mortgage is paid in full." Silence for half a beat. Then she gasped. "A clean little performance." "What? That's impossible." I stared at the letter. "It says the lien release was executed." My mother let out a soft, confused laugh. "Maybe you finally caught up on your payments and forgot," she said, and I could hear the smile behind the words. "My payments are automatic," I replied. "And I didn't pay off $200,000 overnight." She sighed dramatically. "Jade, I don't know what you want me to say. Maybe there's a mistake." "Call them." "I'm going to," I said. "And I'm going in person." Her voice sharpened. "Why would you go in person? Just call." "Because she didn't want me across a desk from someone who could pull a file and show me signatures." I didn't tell her that. I just said, "I'll call you back." Her tone went soft again instantly. "Don't stress yourself out, honey. You've been so anxious lately." There it was. The early foundation. Plant the idea that I was unstable. That I misread things. That I imagined threats. I ended the call without responding. Then I did the next thing quietly. I took photos of the letter on my table with the date visible on my phone screen, and I opened my lender's app. My account was gone. Not zero balance. Gone. The login still worked, but when I clicked my mortgage, it redirected to a generic message about closed accounts and a phone number. My throat tightened. I stayed calm anyway. I drove to the lender's local office as soon as they opened, the letter in my passenger seat like evidence. The building was modern and blassy, all calm branding and soft background music, designed to make panic feel embarrassing. I didn't let it. At the front desk, a receptionist smiled politely. Can I help you? I need to speak to someone in payoff services, I said. My loan is showing as paid in full and I didn't authorize a payoff or a release. Her smile faltered a fraction. She handed me a clipboard. Please fill this out. I wrote my name, Jade Mercer, slow and clear, then slid my ID across the counter. A few minutes later, a man in a blue dress shirt called my name and led me to a small office with frosted glass walls and a single computer monitor, angled away from the door. He sat. I typed, and then paused in a way that made my stomach sink. Okay, he said carefully. I see the payoff. I didn't pay it, I said. He nodded once, eyes still on the screen. The payoff funds came through a wire, and the release of lien was processed right after. My mouth went dry. Oh, who wired it? He hesitated. I can't give you full wiring details without verification steps, but I can tell you the payoff file includes a signed borrower authorization and a notarized release request. A release request, I repeated. He turned the monitor toward me. On the screen was a scanned document titled Borrower Authorization and Satisfaction Request. It had my name typed neatly at the top, and a signature at the bottom that was supposed to be mine. It wasn't. It was close enough to fool someone in a hurry, but wrong in the way fake signatures always are. Too careful, too slow, like someone drawing instead of writing. I didn't sign that, I said, voice still even. The rep leaned closer to the screen, zooming in with his mouse wheel. The signature grew larger, the ink edges jagged with scan compression. His face went still. Not confused, not doubtful. Still like the file had just changed categories in his mind. Ms. Mercer? He said quietly. This was notarized yesterday. My stomach dropped again, slower this time. Yesterday. He clicked into another tab. Yes, there's a notary acknowledgement attached. Commission number, stamp, everything. My fingers curled around the edge of my chair so I wouldn't rip the air. Can you show me? He pulled up the notary page. A clean stamp? A printed name? A commission expiration date? A county? Sign, then he said, almost under his breath like he couldn't decide if he should be saying it out loud. And the notary is... He looked at the line, then looked up at me with a different kind of caution. Ms. Mercer? He said. Do you know someone named Brenda Holt? My throat tightened because I didn't just know that name. I knew exactly why my mother begged me to put the house in the family's name the day before. I knew the name Brenda Holt the way you know the name of a tool someone keeps within reach. My mother had mentioned her casually over the years, never in a way that sounded important. Brenda can notarize things fast, she'd say, like it was the same as knowing a good mechanic. Brenda's a sweetheart, she helps people who are overwhelmed. Brenda was the woman my mother called when she wanted a signature to become a weapon, and I kept my face still and looked back at the lender rep. Is this an in-person notarization? I asked. Or remote? He clicked again, eyes scanning. Remote online, he said quietly. Ron, there's an electronic notary certificate attached. My stomach tightened. Remote online notarizations leave a trail. Video, audit logs, IP addresses, credential checks. Which meant if my mother had forced this through, she'd done it through a system that records everything. Can you pull the certificate? I asked. He hesitated the way people hesitate when they are deciding whether we're the problem or the victim. I'm the borrower, I said calmly. And I'm disputing this signature. I need the full payoff file, including the notary certificate and submission metadata. He looked at me for a beat, then nodded once. Okay, he said. Hey, I need to escalate this to our fraud and compliance unit. He stood up and stepped out of the office, leaving me alone with the hum of the computer, and the soft, cheerful lobby music bleeding through the frosted glass like a joke. I didn't scroll. I didn't touch his keyboard. I just sat there and breathed slowly until the tightness in my chest turned into a single cold point. When he came back, he wasn't alone. A woman in a dark blazer entered with him. Hair pulled back, tablet in hand, expression blank in the way that signals authority without drama. "Ms. Mercer," she said. "I'm Rena Caldwell, Internal Investigations." I nodded. "Thank you for coming." Rena didn't waste time. "You're stating you did not authorize a payoff, did not sign a satisfaction request, and did not appear, remotely or in person, before a notary yesterday." "Yes," I said. She typed once. "Do you know the notary?" "Brenda Holt." "My mother does," I replied. "They've known each other for years." Rena's eyes lifted slightly. Not surprise. Interest. "Do you have any reason to believe your mother had access to your personal identification?" she asked. I didn't embellish. I didn't give her a speech, I gave her facts. "She was in my house yesterday," I said. "She asked me to put the house in the family's name. I said no. She left. This notice arrived today." Rena nodded once, then held her tablet toward the rep. "Pull up the payoff packet," she said. "All attachments? All logs." The rep clicked through quickly now, his posture less casual, more careful. Rena's eyes moved over the screen, then she asked, What email was used for the RON session?" The rep paused. "It's listed as jade.mercer at..." I felt a flicker of relief that died immediately when he continued. "A domain I don't recognize," he said. "Not your usual contact email on file." Rena's tone stayed even. "What mailing address is on the payoff confirmation request?" The rep scrolled. His face tightened. "It lists a different mailing address for the recorded release," he said. I leaned forward slightly. "Read it." He read it out loud and my stomach turned cold. It was my mother's address. Not mine. My mother had directed the lender to send the recorded lien release to her house like it belonged to her. Rena's eyes didn't widen. She just tapped her tablet. "That's enough to open a fraud case internally," she said, "and to place a hold on any further processing." The rep looked confused. "But it's already paid off. The account is closed." Rena's voice sharpened slightly. "Closed does not mean unreviewable. We can flag the release as disputed and notify the recorder if it hasn't been indexed. And we can preserve the RON audit and recording." I sat back, keeping my breathing steady. "Has it been recorded?" I asked. The rep clicked again. "It was submitted for recording," he said. "Pending county processing." Rena asked one simple question. "Submission time." He read it. "Late yesterday afternoon." So my mother had moved fast. Fast enough that by the time I opened my mail, the machine was already running. Rena turned to me. "Ms. Mercer, I need you to understand what this means. I have someone forged your signature on a satisfaction request and used a notary certificate to validate it. This is criminal. But the fastest thing you can do right now is protect your title." "I'm already thinking that," I said. Rena nodded. "Good. Then you're going to go to the county recorder today and pull your parcel history. If any deed or transfer was recorded in the last 48 hours, you'll see it." The rep handed me a printed packet. Payoff summary, the scanned authorization with the fake signature, the notary certificate page with Brenda Holt's name and commission number, and a single page titled RON Audit Summary. Under it, session time, email used, and a field labeled IP address. Rena pointed to it. "This will matter later," she said. "We're preserving the video, and we're also pulling call logs and any address change requests." "Call logs," I repeated. The rep cleared his throat. "There's a note," he admitted. "A caller contacted payoff services yesterday to confirm procedures." Rena's eyes narrowed. "Caller number." The rep clicked, then hesitated. "It's in the internal notes. I can't print it without..." "Print it," Rena said. He printed it. And when the paper slid out, the phone number at the top made my throat tighten because it wasn't even clever. It was my mother's number. She had called them herself from her own phone to set this in motion. I didn't react outwardly. I just folded that page and placed it on top of the packet like I was stacking bricks. Rena spoke again, calm and finally. "We're opening an internal case," she said. "We'll issue a dispute notice to the county recorder if the lien release is recorded, and we'll provide you a certified fraud packet. You'll likely need counsel, and you should file a police report for forgery and identity theft." "I will," I said. Rena watched me for a beat, then added, "One more thing." "Yes." "The payoff wire," she said. "The funds came from a third-party account. The name on the wire origin is not yours." My stomach tightened. "Whose?" Rena didn't answer with a guess. She answered with a label. "It's a small local escrow company," she said. "Not a bank account in your name." Escrow. That word meant one thing. Someone was trying to move ownership, pay off the lender, clear the lien, transfer the house. I stood up with the packet held close, not shaking, not rushing, controlled. Rena gave me her card. "If anyone from the county calls you or if you see a deed recorded, call me immediately. Don't confront your mother yet." I nodded. "I won't." But as I walked out through the lobby, I could already feel my mother's next move like a shadow ahead of me. Because if she cleared the mortgage yesterday, she didn't do it as a gift. She did it as a crowbar. 2 hours later, I was at the county recorder's office. The waiting room was packed. People held folders and manila envelopes like lifelines. A digital screen beeped out numbers. The air smelled like paper, sweat, and printer toner. When my number was called, I stepped to the counter and slid my driver's license forward. "I need the latest record history for my parcel," I said. "I believe a line release or deed may have been recorded without my authorization." The clerk, an older man with reading glasses, typed my address. His eyes narrowed slightly as the screen populated. Then he leaned closer. Then he went still. "Ma'am," he said, lowering his voice, "there was a recording yesterday." My throat tightened. "What kind?" He clicked into the document list. "A satisfaction of mortgage," he said. I swallowed once. "And a deed." He didn't look at me when he said it. He looked at the screen like he didn't want to be the one delivering it. "Yes," he said. "A quitclaim deed." My hand stayed steady on the counter. "To who?" He scrolled. His finger paused on the grantee lot. Then he said the name like it changed the air in my lungs. "Elaine Mercer?" he said. "Your mother." I stared at the clerk for one long beat, letting the reality settle into its true shape. My mother hadn't paid off my mortgage to help me. She had paid it off to take my house free and clear. I kept my voice calm because calm is what makes people tell you more. "I need certified copies," I said. "Everything recorded yesterday. And I need the recording metadata. Who submitted it, method of payment, and the notary acknowledgement on the deed." The clerk nodded slowly like he'd just moved from customer service to something else. "Okay," he said. "But I need to warn you. If this deed is notarized, it becomes a fraud investigation, not a clerical correction." "I understand," I said. "That's exactly what this is." He clicked into the deed image and zoomed in on the notary block. The notary stamp loaded slowly, pixel by pixel. And when the name sharpened into focus, the clerk's expression shifted again, subtle but real. Because the notary on the deed was the same one on the payoff file. Brenda Holt. The clerk looked up at me and spoke quietly. "Ma'am," he said, "this deed claims you personally appeared yesterday and signed a quitclaim transferring no property to your mother." My throat tightened, but my voice didn't. "I did not," I said. He stared at me for a beat, then asked a question that told me he'd seen this before. "Were you at work yesterday?" he asked. "Anywhere with a time clock? Badge access? Cameras?" "Yes," I replied. "And I can prove it." He nodded once. "Then we do 2 things today," he said. "We print the certified copies and we place a fraud alert on the parcel. Immediately." As his printer started spitting out pages, my phone buzzed. Mom. Her name on the screen looked almost absurd now, like it belonged to someone else's life. I didn't answer. I let it ring, and ring, and ring, because I wanted her call attempt recorded on my end while the county clerk printed the proof of what she'd done. Then my phone buzzed again. A text. Don't do anything stupid. I fixed your mortgage, you should be thanking me. I stared at the message and felt my stomach go cold in a new way. Because she wasn't even pretending anymore. She thought paying off the mortgage meant she owned the narrative, and now I had a certified deed that proved she'd tried to own the house too. The clerk didn't slide the certified copies across the counter like they were routine, he slid them like they were evidence. A stamped, certified satisfaction of mortgage. A stamped, I certified quitclaim deed transferring my house to Elaine Mercer. And the recorded timestamp from yesterday afternoon that turned my stomach cold all over again. I didn't let my face change. I kept my hands flat on the counter and asked for the only thing that mattered next. I need the submission metadata, I said. Who recorded it? How it was delivered? Anything the system shows. He nodded once, clicked deeper into the recorder screen, then leaned closer as if he didn't trust his own eyes. This was e-recorded, he said quietly. Submitted electronically through a third-party platform. By who? I asked. He scrolled. His finger stopped on a line. Submitting party listed as Palm Ridge Escrow, he read. And the notary acknowledgement is attached as a separate PDF by Holt Notary Services. My throat tightened. Palm Ridge Escrow. And that matched what Rena told me at the lender. The payoff wire came from an escrow company, not from me. So it wasn't just Mom forged my signature. It was a coordinated chain. Payoff wire, lien release, quitclaim deed. All pushed through the same day, all notarized by the same person, all routed through escrow like this was a legitimate transfer. Like I'd handed my house over with a smile. The clerk printed the e-recording receipt page and slid it out with the rest. It included a transaction ID, submission time, and, buried in the footer, a line that made my stomach clench harder. Return to address, Elaine Mercer. My mother had built the paperwork trail so that every official document came back to her, not me. I didn't say her name out loud, I didn't give the room that power. I want a fraud alert placed on the parcel, I said. Immediately. The clerk nodded and pulled out a form like he'd been waiting for me to ask. Fill this out, he said. It flags the record for potential fraudulent conveyance. It won't magically undo the recording, but it makes every future recording harder. Harder was good, but it wasn't enough. Because a deed can be recorded in minutes. A sale can happen in days. And if my mother got this house into her name, free and clear, she could borrow against it or sell it before anyone caught up. So I asked the next question without letting my voice shake. Is there anything else pending? I said. Any new filings on this parcel since yesterday? The clerk clicked into the live queue view. His face changed again. He didn't look at me right away. There's an inquiry, he said slowly. A title poll that came in early this morning. My throat tightened. From who? He read the requesting company name. A title company. Local. And then the purpose field populated. Pre-close review? I didn't blink. I didn't gasp. I didn't let my body do anything dramatic in a building full of cameras. A pre-close review means a sale, I said. The clerk nodded once, grim. Usually. I felt the world narrow into one clean, cold thought. My mother wasn't just taking my house, she was trying to move it out of reach. Print that, I said. The inquiry page. The requesting party. Everything. He printed it without argument, then slid the paper across. I held it with 2 fingers like it could burn. Pre-close review? Today's date? A title company preparing to ensure a transfer that shouldn't exist. I filled out the fraud alert form in slow, neat handwriting and signed exactly the way my real signature looks when I'm calm, not when I'm being copied. The clerk stamped it. Then he leaned forward and lowered his voice. Ma'am, he said, if this is a forged deed, you need to file a police report today. And you need to contact your title insurance company, whoever insured your purchase. They have fraud response attorneys. I will, I said. He nodded once, then added, also, notary fraud is taken seriously here. There's a property crimes unit that handles falsified instruments. I didn't thank him with emotion. I thanked him with clarity. What's the unit name? I asked. He wrote it on a sticky note and slid it under my papers. I left the recorder's office with a folder full of certified proof and a fraud alert confirmation that felt like a seatbelt in a car already crashing. Outside, my phone buzzed again. Mom. Then another buzz. A new text. You're overreacting. It's safer this way. I didn't answer. I took a screenshot, saved it, and opened my closing documents folder on my phone. Title insurance, I had it. I remembered signing the policy without really believing I'd ever need it. Now I needed it. I called the title company listed on my original closing statement, the one that insured my purchase years ago. A woman answered. Bright voice, then shifted instantly when I said the words she hears in nightmares. I believe a forged deed was recorded against my property, I said. The deed transferred my house to my mother. I have certified copies. There was a pause. Keys tapping. What's the property address? She asked. I gave it. More tapping. Then her tone changed. I see the new recording, she said. Be quieter now. And I see a satisfaction recorded yesterday as well. Yes, I said. The lender has opened an internal fraud case. The notary is Brenda Holt. The line went silent for half a beat. Like the name hit something in her system, or in her memory. Ms. Mercer? She said carefully. I'm escalating you to claims. Stay on the line. While I waited, I did the next procedural thing without thinking. I called Rena Caldwell and left a voicemail with one sentence. The deed is recorded. Quit claim to my mother. Notary is Brenda Holt. Escrow is Palm Ridge. There's a pre-close title inquiry this morning. Then I went inside my car, locked the doors out of habit, and waited. Claims picked up. A man's voice this time, measured. This is Ken Porter, title claims. Tell me what happened? I told him in clean, factual order. Paid in full notice. On lender file with a forged signature. Notary certificate from yesterday. County recorder confirming a quitclaim deed to my mother, notarized by the same notary, submitted by an escrow company. And a pre-close title inquiry this morning. Ken didn't interrupt until I finished. Then he asked a question that felt like a blade. Do you still live in the property? He asked. Yes. Good, he said. Then listen carefully. Do not leave. Do not let anyone in. If anyone shows up claiming to be a buyer, realtor, or contractor, you call police. Today. My throat tightened. So there's a sale. Ken's voice stayed calm. A pre-close inquiry strongly suggests an escrow is being opened to transfer the property. They move fast when they know they're racing the record. Racing the record. My mother wasn't panicking, she was executing, Ken continued. We are opening a title fraud claim, we'll assign counsel. But your immediate steps are police report for forgery and filing a false instrument, and an emergency court filing to cloud title. Typically, a lice pendens or restraining order depending on your jurisdiction. I breathed in slowly. Okay. Ken added, and I need you to send us your certified copies and the lender fraud packet. Today, within the hour. I can, I said. Then he said the line that made my stomach drop in a new way, because it meant the system was already moving without me. Ms. Mercer, he said. We also received an automated notice from a different title company requesting payoff confirmation on the prior lien. A different title company. Not mine. Not my old closer. Someone else preparing to close a new deal. Can you tell me their name? I asked. Ken hesitated. Yeah, I can tell you this. It's not a refinance request. It's marked as a transfer closing. I stared straight ahead through my windshield, feeling my hands go colder on my steering wheel. Because a transfer closing means one thing, my mother wasn't trying to hold the house in the family. She was trying to convert it into cash. I drove directly to the police station after that, not to beg, not to dramatize, to file a report with a paper trail that could stop a closing. At the front desk, the officer asked what I was reporting. I placed my certified copies on the counter and said, "A forged deed was recorded transferring my house to my mother. The signature is not mine. The notarization is fraudulent, and an escrow appears to be attempting to sell it right now." The officer's eyes sharpened. He looked at the notary name. He looked at the recorder stamp. Then he said, "Have a seat." Not dismissive, urgent. A few minutes later, a detective came out, plain clothes, tired eyes, calm voice. He introduced himself as Detective Shu and asked me to start at the beginning. I did, exactly the same way I'd told Ken. When I finished, Detective Hashu stared at the quitclaim deed for a long moment. Then he pointed to the notary block. "Brenda Holt," he said quietly. "Remote online notary." "Yes." He nodded once. "We can subpoena the RON recording and audit trail," he said. "If it's not you on that video, and the credential check ties back to your mother or escrow, this becomes felony level." Felony level. That word didn't make me feel better, it made me feel certain. Detective Hive continued, voice crisp. "And filing a false instrument with the county recorder is its own charge. So is identity theft. So is conspiracy if escrow facilitated it knowingly." I kept my voice steady. "Can you stop the closing?" He looked at me for the first time, like he was measuring how fast the day was moving. "We can try," he said. "But we need the escrow details. Do you know which escrow is handling the sale?" I slid the recorder's e-recording receipt forward. "Palm Ridge Escrow," I said. His eyes narrowed and he wrote it down. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it. And his expression changed. Small, controlled, but real. He looked at me and said, "Miss Mercer, you need to come with me to my desk." My stomach tightened. "Why?" Detective Shu held up his phone slightly, not showing me the screen yet. "Because," he said, "we just got a call from a patrol unit." He paused, then said the sentence that made the air feel thin. "Your mother is at your house right now, with a realtor, and they're telling neighbors it's already sold." I didn't argue with Detective Heshu. I didn't waste a second asking how he knew. I stood up, grabbed my folder and followed him through a door marked, "Authorized Personnel Only," into a narrow hallway that smelled like stale coffee and toner. At his desk he pulled up a screen and made one call on speaker. A patrol officer answered, breath quick. "Unit 12, the officer said. "Hashu," Detective Hashu replied. "Confirm what you have." "We got a neighbor call," the officer said. "Female matching the mother's description, late 50s, with a realtor. They're standing on the sidewalk pointing at the property, telling people it's sold and the current occupant is moving out today." My stomach turned cold. Today. My mother was racing me. Detective Haku didn't flinch. "Any attempt to enter?" "Not yet," the officer replied. "Occupant not outside. Mother keeps looking at the house like she expects her daughter to come out." That was exactly what she wanted. She wanted me to step into the yard so she could talk loud enough for witnesses. So she could plant a story in the neighborhood that I was unstable, refusing to leave, being dramatic. Detective Shu looked at me. "Do you want to go home?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He nodded once. "We're going," he said. And he stood up, like this was no longer a question of paperwork. He grabbed his jacket, his badge wallet and a single manila folder. Then he looked at me again. "Listen carefully," he said. Do not engage with your mother. Do not raise your voice. If she approaches, you don't explain, you point. You say, 'This is an active fraud investigation. Speak to Detective Shu.' That's it." I nodded. "Okay." He grabbed his keys and walked fast. We drove in his unmarked vehicle. No lights, no siren. Just speed controlled by intention. On the way, my phone buzzed again. Mom. Then a text. Open the door, we're finalizing. I screenshotted it. I handed my phone to Detective Shu without asking if he wanted it. He glanced at the message, then handed it back like it confirmed what he already knew. This helps, he said. When we turned onto my street, I saw them immediately. My mother stood on the sidewalk in a pale jacket, hair perfectly styled like she was going to brunch, and beside her was a man in a blazer holding a leather portfolio. Realtor posture, fake confidence. And across the street, my neighbor Mrs. Klein stood on her porch with her hand over her mouth, watching like she couldn't decide whether to intervene or record. My mother spotted the car and straightened, smile snapping into place. She thought it was me arriving alone. Then she saw Detective Shu step out first. The smile didn't disappear. It faltered. Just slightly. Like the script in her head skipped a line. Detective Ho walked toward her with the calm, direct movement of someone who wasn't here for a discussion. Elaine Mercer? He said. My mother blinked. Yes, she replied, voice sweet. Who are you? Detective Shu? He said, flashing his badge briefly. Property crimes. The realtor's face changed instantly. He took a step back, highlight the word property crimes had teeth. My mother laughed lightly. Oh, detective, she said. This is a family matter. We're just... No. Detective Hasu interrupted. You're the subject of an active investigation, involving a forged deed and fraudulent notarization recorded yesterday. My mother's eyes widened in an exaggerated way. Forged? That's insane. Jade signed. Detective Hasu didn't let her finish. He held up a hand, not aggressive, just final. Ma'am? He said. Stop speaking. My mother's mouth snapped shut, but her eyes stayed bright with indignation. Detective Hasu turned slightly toward the realtor. Sir, he said. Identify yourself. The realtor swallowed. I'm Darren, he said. Darren Blake, I'm the listing agent. Who hired you? Detective Hasu asked. My mother jumped in quickly. I did. I own the house now. Detective Shu looked back at her. Stop, he said again. I asked him. Darren's voice shook slightly. Elaine Mercer retained me, he said. She said the property was transferred to her as part of family planning. Detective Shu nodded, then asked the question that mattered most. Do you have an executed purchase agreement? He said. An escrow number. A buyer name. Darren hesitated, eyes darting to my mother like he was waiting for her permission to answer. That hesitation told me everything. Because if the deal was real and clean, he'd answer confidently. My mother's voice came sharp. This is harassment, she snapped. You're embarrassing me in my own neighborhood. Detective Shu's tone stayed flat. You embarrassed yourself when you recorded a deed with a signature that doesn't match the homeowner. My mother's face hardened. Jade is unstable, she said loudly, turning her voice toward Mrs. Klein across the street. She's confused. She forgets things. She's been... Detective Shu stepped closer, lowering his voice so it couldn't be used as a performance. Elaine, he said. Your daughter is inside her home. She is the legal occupant. You are not to contact her directly. You are not to attempt entry. You are not to harass neighbors. Do you understand? My mother's lips trembled with rage. I'm her mother. That doesn't grant you title, he replied. Then he looked at Darren again. Sir, he said. If you're part of an attempted sale based on a forged instrument, you could be drawn into this as a witness. I suggest you provide the escrow details right now. Darren's face went pale. He opened his portfolio with hands that suddenly looked less professional. He pulled out a single sheet. An escrow intake summary. Detective Shu took it without touching Darren's fingers. Palm Ridge Escrow. A buyer name partially redacted. A closing date. And a line near the bottom that made my throat tighten. Possession. Immediate upon recording. Immediate possession. My mother wasn't just planning a sale, she was planning to remove me from my own house as soon as her paper became final. Detective Shu read the sheet once, then folded it and placed it into his folder like it was already evidence. He looked at my mother. "Elaine Mercer," he said. "You are being detained pending further investigation." My mother's eyes widened. "Detained? For what? I didn't do anything." Detective Shu's voice stayed calm. "For suspected identity theft and filing a false instrument. You will come to the station, and we will obtain the RON recording, audit logs, and escrow communications." My mother's voice rose. "You can't do this. I paid her mortgage. I helped her." Detective Shu didn't react to the emotional bait. He reacted to the legal reality. "Paying off a mortgage does not authorize forgery," he said. Then he turned to me for the first time since we arrived. "Ms. Mercer," he said, "do you have any firearms in the home?" "No," I replied. "Good," he said. "Stay inside. Do not engage." My mother jerked forward slightly, tried to get around him to see me. Detective Shu stepped in her path. "No," he said firmly. And for the first time, and the neighborhood watched my mother lose control of the moment she'd tried to stage. A patrol car pulled up. Same officers who'd been waiting down the street. They stepped out with handcuffs, professional and quiet. My mother's face shifted from rage to something else. Fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of consequences. As they guided her toward the car, she twisted her head to look at my house and shouted, loud enough for every window, "Jade? You ungrateful little... This is because of you." I didn't step outside. I didn't respond. I stayed in my doorway behind a locked deadbolt, watching through the glass as the system did what it was designed to do when someone tries to cheat it. Detective Shu turned to Darren. "You," he said, "are going to email me everything, texts, calls, escrow instructions, any document she gave you, on today." Darren nodded rapidly. Yes, Detective." Then Detective Hisu looked at Mrs. Klein across the street. "Ma'am," he called gently, "thank you for calling. If you recorded anything, keep it. We may need a statement." Mrs. Klein nodded, eyes wide. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother, sent seconds before they took her phone. "If you do this, I'll make sure you lose everything anyway." I screenshotted it. Because threats don't scare me anymore. They document intent. Detective Shu looked at his folder, then back at my house. "We're going to move fast now," he said to me through the doorway. "We need an emergency court filing today to freeze any further transfer, TRO, Alice pendants, whatever counsel recommends. And we need the lender's fraud packet." "I can get it," I said. He nodded. "Yeah, good." Then he said the sentence that made my stomach tighten again. Not out of fear, but because it meant the punishment would be real. "Ms. Mercer," he said, "based on what you've shown, your mother and that notary are looking at felony charges." I didn't exhale in relief when Detective Shu said, "felony charges." Relief wasn't the right emotion. The right emotion was a cold, steady certainty that my mother had finally stepped into a system that doesn't care how she cries. Detective Shu left 2 patrol officers on my street for the next hour while he drove back to the station with my mother in custody. Before he went, he stood on my porch, close enough to speak through the glass, and gave me instructions the way you give someone instructions before a storm hits. "Do not open the door for anyone," he said. "Not a realtor, not a buyer, not a friend of your mother. If anyone shows up with papers, take photos through the window and call us." "I will," I said. "And Ms. Mercer," he added, "if your mother contacts you from jail, don't answer. Say it." I nodded. Then I did the thing my mother never expected me to do when she tried to take something from me. I stayed calm and moved faster than she did. Within the hour, Rena Caldwell from the lender called me back. Her tone was clipped. "All business now. Ms. Mercer, we pulled the RON session data. Brenda Holt performed the notarization at 4:22 p.m. yesterday. We preserved the recording. Was it me? I asked. Rena didn't sugarcoat it. No, she said. It's a woman on the video, but the face is partially obscured by poor lighting and a camera angle. However, my stomach tightened. The credential check was completed using your social security number and a photo of your driver's license, she continued. And the IP address traces to a residential network registered to Elaine Mercer. The room went quiet around me. Because my mother didn't just forge a signature, she used my identity to pass a security check on video. Inside her own house. Rena kept going, voice steady. We also have the originating phone number for the payoff verification call. It matches your mother. And the payoff wire was initiated by Palm Ridge Escrow under a transfer file. That's a red flag because borrowers don't usually use escrow to pay off their own loans. So you can flag it, I said. But we already did, Rena replied. We issued a dispute notice and a fraud alert to the county recorder and the title platform. We're also sending you a certified fraud packet with the audit trail, IP data, and preservation notice. Thank you, I said. When I ended the call, I forwarded the everything to Ken Porter at my title insurance claims office. He responded within minutes with one sentence that sounded like a door slamming shut. We are filing an emergency action to Cloud Title today. By noon, my title insurance counsel had filed a temporary restraining order request and a notice that froze any attempt to transfer or encumber the property while the fraud was investigated. They also filed a alias pendens, an ugly little public flag that tells every title company in the county. This property is in dispute, and if you touch it, you're stepping into a lawsuit. My mother's sale stopped breathing the moment that hit the record. Palm Ridge Escrow called me twice that afternoon. I didn't answer. Their third call went to voicemail. A man's voice, tight and nervous. Ms. Mercer, we believe there may be a misunderstanding. Please call us back so we can resolve this amicably. Amicably meant quickly, quietly, without police. I saved it. Then Detective Shu called. We pulled the wrong recording, he said. It's not you. I closed my eyes once. Not from relief. From exhaustion. We also subpoenaed the notary's journal and platform logs, he continued. Brenda Holt's account shows the session was initiated from the same IP Rena gave you. And we obtained the device fingerprint. Same phone used to submit the quitclaim deed and the satisfaction request. My throat tightened. So it's linked? It's linked, he confirmed. And Palm Ridge Escrow has communications with your mother that reference getting it free and clear and closing before she realizes. I felt cold all the way down to my fingertips. Detective Shu's voice stayed calm. Your mother has been booked, he said. Charges are being filed. Which charges? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Forgery, he said. Identity theft. Filing a false instrument with the county recorder. Attempted theft by deception. And conspiracy, because Holt and the escrow file show coordination. My stomach clenched, but my voice stayed steady. Is she staying in custody? She was offered bail, he said. But the prosecutor argued flight risk and risk of continued harm. The judge ordered bail conditions and a no-contact order. She cannot contact you or go within a certain distance of your home. A no-contact order felt like air. Not peace, just air. And Brenda Holt? I asked. Detective Shu's tone sharpened slightly. Her commission is being placed on emergency suspension pending a formal hearing. We're also recommending criminal charges for notary misconduct tied to forged instruments. She's being interviewed today. And escrow? I asked. We're serving Palm Ridge, he said. If they facilitated knowingly, they're exposed. At minimum, their file is evidence now. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I stared at my kitchen counter where my mother sat yesterday and begged me to put it in the family name. She didn't want family, she wanted ownership. That evening my mother called from the jail. The number came up as a detention facility. I didn't answer. And the voicemail came through anyway. Her voice was different. Smaller, tighter. Still trying to blame the world for what she did. "Jade," she whispered. "They're treating me like a criminal. This is humiliating. You need to fix this. Tell them it was a mistake." I listened to the whole thing once, then saved it. Then I forwarded it to Detective Shu with the subject line: "Jail call, attempted contact and violation of instruction." Because she still didn't understand. The system doesn't care that she's my mother. It cares that she committed felonies. 2 days later, my attorney handed me the recorded court order, undoing the fraudulent deed and restoring the chain of title pending final judgment. The county recorder flagged the quitclaim as disputed and later marked it as voidable under the court's temporary order. Every title company that touched my address after that would see bright warning signs. And the closing that my mother tried to rush? Cancelled. Not postponed? Cancelled. Palm Ridge Escrow sent a formal notice that the transaction file was terminated due to fraud investigation. Darren Blake, the realtor, emailed Detective Hashu everything. Texts, voice notes, and the listing draft where my mother literally wrote, "Seller will not be present. Occupant is emotioning. Close fast." Those words ended up in the prosecutor's packet. My mother's arraignment happened the following week. I didn't go for revenge. I went for reality. I sat in the back of the courtroom while the prosecutor listed the charges on the record and the judge read the conditions. No contact, no proximity, surrender of any copied IDs, and an order to submit all devices for forensic review. Then the prosecutor said the part that made the room shift. They were seeking felony convictions. Because a forged deed isn't petty. It's theft at a scale that destroys people's lives. My mother's attorney asked for leniency. He talked about her good intentions, her family stress, her confusion. The judge didn't even look impressed, he looked tired. Intentions don't notarize forged signatures, the judge said, and family does not excuse fraud. My mother was remanded briefly when the court learned she attempted to contact me after being instructed not to, and her bail conditions were tightened. She left in handcuffs that day. Brenda Holt was arrested 2 weeks later after investigators matched her platform logs to multiple questionable notarizations. Her notary commission was revoked, and she faced charges tied to falsified acknowledgments. The state opened a disciplinary investigation that would follow her for the rest of her life. And my mother? She didn't just lose. She became what she kept insisting she wasn't. A criminal on paper. My home stayed mine. Not emotionally, legally. And the first time in years I slept with the kind of quiet you can't get from forgiveness. You get it from consequences. In the weeks that followed, I didn't feel healed, but I felt protected. The title freeze stayed in place until the court finalized the corrective order, and every institution involved, lender, recorder, title insurance, treated my file like a live fraud case because that's what it was. My mother couldn't call me, couldn't show out. I couldn't send a family message through someone else without it becoming another violation. The house stopped being a tug-of-war rope and became what it should have been from the start. My home, backed by a record. If your own parent forged your signature to take your house, would you show mercy or would you let the felony charges stand so it never happens again? Tell me in the comments, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.